Alright, y'all, so I went and checked out that movie a lot of people online are up in arms about called Sound of Freedom. Now, a couple of things. I was on the fence about this one purely because Jim Caviezel is in it, and I think the guy is a little bit crazy. But I'm not trying to judge the movie based solely on my personal feelings towards the man. To my knowledge, he is a confused, silly, and profoundly misguided individual, but he hasn't necessarily hurt anyone. With that said, because he's in it, I knew there would be controversy and people attempting to claim that this is a movie that explores far right-wing conspiracy theories. Now, I'm not here to say that there isn't a little bit of that probably lurked behind the scenes of this movie, given who some of the people involved in it are, but I do want to say after seeing it, I didn't really get that vibe at all, on the surface level at least. So a lot of this quick review is going to focus on my thoughts about the film from an objective perspective, just kind of personally how I felt about the movie, not any of the controversy or conspiracy theories surrounding it, just the movie. Now, with that being said, the film focuses primarily on the dark aspects of a very real issue and does so in a pretty respectful manner. And that's quite frankly all I cared about. The movie is PG-13, so you're not seeing anything truly graphic in nature, which I think is respectful to the victims that may or may not have been portrayed in the film. But also, sometimes not seeing these graphic images or instances lets your imagination go, and that can be just as, if not more effective, and that definitely works here in the film. The film also takes its time exploring its themes and develops a story based specifically on those themes and the true story it's based on. And from the bit of research that I have done, appears to have stayed pretty close to its source material and the real events. For those who don't know, it tells the story of a real man, Tim Ballard, who is known for creating Operation Underground Railroad, an agency that fights against human trafficking. Tim Ballard and its agency went on to rescue children, and his organization, from what I can tell, continues to provide educational, mental, and other services to individuals till this day. And the film kind of shows how this operation comes to be, but only after showing you how dark and harrowing the underworld they are fighting against really is. And I thought this setup worked well for the film. Now, I do get a vibe that some of the events in this movie are embellished and may or may not be true, but at the end of the day, it is a movie, and I also don't really care how many kids he's personally rescued or however it was done. Saving 10 kids versus 1,000 is still some pretty heroic shit, so I have no problem with how the film's protagonist is portrayed. Now, I do have to say that this film is not perfect. The acting is pretty crunchy at times, but the bigger issue is the writing here. Much of it feels overly dramatic and even forced. The subject matter is enough on its own to garner emotion from the audience. We really don't need the cheesy dialogue that felt like it was written for Captain America himself. The acting isn't really great either, but Caviezel himself isn't terrible. In fact, he's probably the best part about the film. But some of the lines he's given take away from that performance a bit, as the writing is just kinda trash, and without a doubt the biggest downfall of the movie, specifically in terms of its dialogue. Also, I didn't really care for the musical score, and while the film is fairly entertaining, there are moments that moved a bit slow. And while I do want to focus this review primarily on the film, I do think that is a little bit hard to do without taking into context some of the real life controversy that is surrounding it. And like many talking about this one, my biggest issues do, unfortunately, have to do with things that actually don't have to do with the movie at all. As I mentioned, after having watched it, I can personally say that the movie itself doesn't explicitly mention anything about QAnon or promote any real political ideologies for that matter. But this movie's marketing, however, knows exactly what it's doing. There is definitely this, if you don't like the movie, you're a part of the problem, or if you do buy a ticket and see the movie, you're effectively doing your part to end child trafficking kind of vibe.
Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it. If millions of us come together today to see this film, we could propel the movement to help save millions of children around the world. And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
While I appreciate the fact that they are trying to bring awareness to a very real and serious issue, I just can't help but feel like the marketing is a little bit scammy here. Why not make the movie free if you really want the largest audiences possible to see your message, or do a theater and home release together? I'm sure the people who want to support the cause would still go see the movie, while also allowing those who are at home or simply don't have the means to get to a film to watch it also. Caviezel does mention in this random interview that they are giving out tickets for free.
If the ticket price is stopping you from attending, claim your free ticket at angel.com/freedom.
Which is nice, but I'm not sure how many theaters are allotted and what the system even looks like, but it does appear that people are claiming them and attending the film for free. Now, I don't know if that is a good thing, or I don't even know if the people that are claiming these tickets are actually going to see it in theaters or just trying to bolster the box office. I mean, I would hope people are going to see this because it is talking about something very important. On the other side, I think there is a lot of people negatively targeting this movie, and I do think that it has a lot to do with the lead actor and the fact some of the individuals, including the real-life inspiration for the film, Tim Ballard, have ties to QAnon and other far-right conspiracy theory groups. That is troubling, and I can see why a lot of people would be turned off by this and talk about it without even having to go spend money or their time sitting in a theater to watch it. And I admittedly was one of those people too who was skeptical about this. That said, I went to see a movie, not fucking hang out with these guys. And that's what a lot of rad liberals will claim you're doing if you watch this movie. In reality, it's just a decent movie about a pretty dark subject each one of us should strive to become more aware about. However, I do understand separating the art from the artists can be difficult for some, and that's the case with this film, and I want to respect that. It's just a little unfortunate because if you do go see it, you're a right-wing nut job, and if you don't see it, you might as well be committing these terrible acts yourself, according to right-wingers. It's truly a lose-lose battle, and the idiocy from both far sides of the spectrum is on full display here. Now, what I wish would happen with this film is just to see both sides taking the high road and focusing that energy on the broader issues that the film is trying to convey. Because regardless which side of the spectrum politically you fall on, it is talking about a very real issue that does affect our children. And, you know, at some point you just have to put all that bullshit aside and just focus on the tragic situations, you know, that the world is really going through. Now, anyway, that was just my quick little rant about that, and I'll conclude by saying it was a alright movie at the end of the day. However, it may be a movie that's themes and message are better than the actual film itself. I would encourage people to see it, but it doesn't need to be seen in theaters despite what everybody is probably telling you. You're not missing out on the greatest summer blockbuster of all time, and no, you're not a terrible person if you don't go and watch this. There are plenty of causes and organizations that fight for the same thing, and you can do your research on your own and donate to them on your own if that makes you feel better. I've even provided a few in the description, just, you know, so you can take a look at those if you want to. Nevertheless, I don't think this film's message is representing anything nefarious deep down inside, personally. And if you can get past the wonky marketing and set aside the politics and bypass some pretty shitty dialogue, this could be a pretty alright film to watch. I give Sound of Freedom a 6.5 out of 10. Now, there's a chance that I may get torched from all directions in this video, and I was even hesitant to make it at all, but here we are. I had to see what was going on, and these are my thoughts. I would like to hear yours below. Let me know what you thought about this. Have you seen it? Do you plan on seeing it? Anyways, let's try and keep the comments civil below. Y'all be easy out there, and I'll catch you soon. All right, so I'm back with a pretty quick update here. After writing my review for this film, I was able to find out that Tim Ballard, the guy that the movie is based on, has stepped away from the organization Operation Underground Railroad. Now, this was all kept pretty quiet during the filming and release of the movie, and I'm not entirely sure as to why. There have been reports stating he was forced to leave, but again, we don't know for sure yet. I'm sure we'll find out at some point, but I wanted to mention this because it does kind of correlate to that feeling that I had about the sketchy marketing a little bit. So I did have to mention this to you guys. But I reiterate, no allegations or anything of that nature have been made as of yet. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see if anything ever comes to light on this situation. All right, y'all. Have a good one.